Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
A mild form of hallucination is known as a disturbance and can occur in most of the senses above. These may be things like seeing movement in peripheral vision or hearing faint noises and/or voices. Auditory hallucinations are very common in schizophrenia. They may be benevolent, telling the subject good things about themselves, or malicious, cursing the subject, etc. Auditory hallucinations of the malicious type are frequently heard, for example, people talking about the subject behind his or her back. Like auditory hallucinations, the source of the visual counterpart can also be behind the subject's back. Their visual counterpart is the feeling of being looked or stared at, usually with malicious intent. Frequently, auditory hallucinations and their visual counterpart are experienced by the subject together.
Take the coffee industry. The figures are roughly these. The coffee market in the world is worth about 60 billion. The growers get 5.5 billion. 10 years ago, the market was about 30 billion and the growers got a third of that. What has happened? What has happened is that well-meaning people, Americans, Germans, Europeans, decided that they would help Vietnam. And so they created a coffee industry there, which is now the second biggest producer in the world. This has serious effects on other countries like Colombia that depend on coffee exports.
The birth rates increased during 20th century, but it starts to decrease over these last 2 decades. In the year 2000, as an example, the birth rate remained at around 1.1% to 1.2%. Birth rates dropped to its lowest point that has never been seen in the society. There are even some negative birth rates in other countries. The reason is that the Western countries' women are becoming more and more reluctant to give birth to babies, especially those young women under 30 years old. However, The male's status in society remains as strong as it ever has in recent years. It also has impacts on male in the society, especially young man, and it might have some connection with unemployment rates as well.
The basis of all life on Earth is the cell. All creatures on Earth are made of cells. I am not going to dwell on the biology of cells, in much it is not that relevant. But I do want to point out a few things. First of all, there are two sorts of cells. As we think all the prokaryotic cell, which is fairly simple and it is the thing that all bacteria are made of. And then we have a eukaryotic cell, much more complicated beasts on the right, which did not appear until well into the history of the biosphere on Earth. And there are many single-celled eukaryotes. But there are also and importantly multicellular organisms, and all of those are based on the eukaryotic cell.
Aquaculture, the farming of fish, shrimp, shellfish, and seaweeds, has been the sources of human protein for nearly 4,000 years, especially in Asia. In the last decade, however, there has been unprecedented growth in aquaculture production, more than 300% since 1984, which has increased the importance of the modern food supply. It's the world's fastest growing food production activity. And globally, more than 25% of the odd fishing and shellfish production in 1999 was attributable to aquaculture. Yes, this industry's contributions to human diet is actually greater than the numbers imply, whereas 1/3 of the conventional fish catch is used to make fish meal and fish oil. Virtually all farmed fish are used as human food. Today, nearly 1/3 of fish consumed by human is the product of aquaculture, and that percentage will only increase as aquaculture expands the world's conventional fish catch, for the oceans and lakes continues to decline because of overfishing and environmental damage.
Audio Jungle.